You did everything right. That's the part nobody acknowledges. You actually did the research. You didn't just grab the first thing Amazon suggested. You went into forums. You watched the teardown videos. You read the Reddit threads where the guy with 11,000 posts breaks down spring rates for 45 minutes. You compared specs. You made a short list. You felt informed. And then you spent real money on a set of coilovers because of a name on the shock body. Here's the problem with that. The name on the shock body, in a very significant portion of this market, is the only thing that's actually different between what you bought and something that costs a few $100s less. Same Taiwanese factory, same shock body geometry, same supplier for the spring steel, different anodizing color, different logo laser etched into the aluminum, and a price gap that exists not because of engineering, but because of reputation, a reputation that the industry built deliberately, carefully, and has been profiting from for decades while you were busy doing your homework. This is the coilover market's open secret. It lives in forum threads going back 15 years. Enthusiasts have been piecing it together through part number comparisons, physical teardowns, side-by-side photos, and in at least one documented case, a member who directly helped a major brand assemble application-specific kits on the production floor in Taiwan and walked away knowing exactly who else was using the same parts. Borchuan Enterprises, the actual manufacturer behind the BC Racing brand name, produces coilovers for multiple competing brands, with small variations in spring rate or valving applied per each company's request, but the fundamental hardware essentially shared. That sentence should bother you, because it means the comparison you made between brand A and brand B, the one that felt like research, was partly a comparison between two companies that source from the same place and charge you different amounts based on which one has a better logo story. 7 brands. That's what this video covers. 7 brands that operate inside this system, at different levels, with different degrees of separation from the source, and with very different price premiums attached to their names. Some of them you've heard recommended in the same breath as quality upgrade. Some of them are sitting in your car right now. We're starting with the 2 that have the most documentation behind them. The pair that enthusiast communities have been calling out by name, with specifics for longer than most of the people watching this video have been modifying cars. And once you see what's behind the first one, the actual paper trail of how this works, the rest of the list is going to land very differently. K-Sport has one advantage the hardware never gave it: an American address. Gilbert, Arizona. You can call them. They pick up. There's a parts website, replacement inserts, the feeling that someone answers when something breaks. That local presence creates a perception of accountability, and that perception is exactly what you're paying the premium for. The zip code, the phone number, the shipping label from Arizona, because the factory is in Taiwan. The same Borchuan facility behind BC Racing, traced through part number comparisons, photographic teardowns, and at least one first-hand account from someone who helped assemble K-Sport applications on the production floor. The piston diameter, 44 millimeters, documented consistently across K-Sport, D2, Megan, and BC. That's not coincidence. That's a supply chain. D2 Racing runs the same play with a different script. They talk motorsport, Macau, high-tech factories, strict quality control. And then you put a D2 and a K-Sport side by side, and people who physically held both say the same thing. Identical shock body geometry, identical rear spring configuration, including that specific detail where both brands skip the OEM rubber perch and force you to reuse it, and it slips, and it produces that knock you'll spend 2 months diagnosing before realizing that's all it is. One forum thread put it plainly: same components, same manufacturer, different colors. The colors aren't an accident. Color is the fastest way to manufacture perceived differentiation when the hardware underneath offers none. Megan Racing is where it gets personal. Megan isn't positioned as budget. 20-plus years in the market. Forum veterans recommend it with genuine confidence. The authority of someone who looked at D2 and K-Sport and wanted something a step above. There's an entire category of buyer who did exactly that and landed on Megan feeling responsible about it. The dampers are manufactured by Borchuan, documented across multiple teardowns. One detailed review even noted that an Apexi product appeared to be the same coilover Megan sells, just repackaged. Different box. Same shock. And when things go wrong, damper seeping, pillow ball mount worn at 2 years, you call about a rebuild. You find out that option doesn't exist. Because Megan, in the words of one longtime reviewer, is a marketing company. They know what the manufacturer put in the brochure, not necessarily what's inside the box. Godspeed Project understood something the others never bothered with. It invested in the appearance of premium. Mono SS, Mono RS, Max. Sounds like real engineering tears. The packaging is cleaner, the copy tighter, the price sitting in that psychological zone just above Megan and D2. Where buyers conclude this is where quality actually starts. Forum documentation tells a different story. Godspeed gets grouped consistently with Megan and D2 on build quality and long-term behavior. Valving isn't chassis-specific. The coating chips as rust develops underneath. One owner after 23,000 miles wrote that his set was still holding up. Don't know how, but I wouldn't recommend these to anyone. What Godspeed sells is perception of a step up, built on hardware from the same place as the options it's supposedly better than. The next brand on this list took that strategy somewhere much darker, because it did it while borrowing the credibility of an entirely different country. Function and form doesn't have a dramatic origin story. No motorsport claims, no Arizona phone number, no legacy to protect. What it has is positioning, quietly, carefully placed just above D2 and K-Sport in the search results in the forum recommendation threads, in the minds of buyers who already rejected the obvious budget options and are looking for that next step. Forum documentation groups function and form directly alongside D2, K-Sport, and Megan. Same Taiwanese supply chain. Same fundamental hardware. But the brand understood something the others didn't quite nail. The buyer who avoided D2 still needs somewhere to land. Function and form became that place. Not through engineering, through availability and timing and being slightly better at not looking cheap. The upgrade path you read about in forums, D2 if you're broke, K-Sport if you want a little more, Megan if you want reliability, function and form if you want the real step up. That ladder was not built on engineering differences. It was built on marketing positioning, on price anchoring, on the industry's ability to create the feeling of tears where the hardware tells a much flatter story. Apexi. This one lands differently. Because Apexi isn't some anonymous Taiwan brand that appeared on eBay in 2009. Apexi was founded in Japan in 1992. The original N1 dampers, the ones serious enthusiasts talk about when they talk about Apexi, were Japanese engineered, Japanese manufactured, and carried genuine performance credibility earned through actual racing application. That heritage is real. The old stuff was genuinely good. The new coilover line is manufactured in Taiwan. Multiple forum comparisons have flagged the current N1XV as sharing construction characteristics with hardware from the same Borchuan supply network, the same pool that produces K-Sport, D2, and Megan. The damper internals, the spring specifications, the 32-way adjustment range. It mirrors what the rest of the Taiwan tier produces. One long-time Apexi owner confirmed after calling the company directly that their current coilovers are not rebuildable. That detail alone tells you something about what kind of product you're actually buying beneath the Japanese branding. What Apexi sells now in the coilover category is heritage. The logo carries 30 years of Japanese tuning credibility. The hardware underneath that logo does not. Yellow Speed Racing is the last one, and it's structurally different from everything else on this list. Because Weissart doesn't just sell coilovers under their own name. They openly advertise OEM and ODM manufacturing services. That means other brands you may have considered, brands you may have bought, are selling Weissart hardware under different logos at different price points with different stories attached. Weissart's own website describes this directly. They offer customizable damping configurations, brand-specific color schemes, application fitment, the full private label package. You tell them the quantity, the spring rates, the color. They build it. You put your name on it. That's the final layer of this. It's not just that multiple brands share a factory. It's that at least one of those factories is actively, openly, currently in the business of producing other people's brands as a service. The logo on your coilover might be a customer order. You never know. So what does that leave you? 7 brands. Most of them drawing from the same supply chain, charging different amounts for the privilege of not knowing it. They upgrade path from D2 to Megan to function and form. Each step supposedly smarter than the last was never a ladder. It was a flat floor with different price tags painted on it. The system that kept it running wasn't fraud exactly. It was quieter than that. The industry understood that most buyers never open the shock body, never compare piston diameters, never ask who manufactured what for whom. They read the brand story, look at the price relative to other options, and make a decision that feels informed because the research felt thorough. Your research was thorough. The information just wasn't complete. There are brands that do this differently. Fortune Auto hand builds every damper in Powhatan, Virginia. Every shock gets individually dyno tested on a Rohrig 2VS, serialized, matched to its pair within 3%. Spring rates chosen for your specific chassis, not a generic chart applied across 20 different cars. And when the dampers eventually wear, you send them back. They rebuild, revalve if your setup changed, ship back to spec. These aren't coilovers you replace. They're coilovers you maintain. That's a different product category entirely. KW Automotive answers the same question from Germany. Stainless steel shock bodies across the entire lineup, independently corrosion tested, not marketing language. Vehicle-specific valving developed on 7 post-test rigs. OEM supply contracts with Porsche, BMW M, and Mercedes-AMG. The same engineering tolerance that goes into a factory M3 is in the box you're buying. That's a verifiable credential, not a form endorsement. You'll spend more on either of these. That part is true, but you'll spend it on something you can actually trace, documented builds, published standards, rebuild programs that exist in the physical world. Not a color, not a series name, not a Taiwanese contract dressed up as a brand story. The 7 brands in this video aren't necessarily selling bad suspension. Some ride fine, some last. What they were selling without telling you was the idea that different names meant different engineering. They didn't. Now you know what the sticker costs. And more importantly, you know what it's worth. If this is the kind of research you want more of, subscribe. There's a lot more the industry hopes you never go looking for.